Hello, happy Sunday. I just wanted to get on here and give you guys, we're doing a town hall meeting today. And so I'm very honored to have some distinguished guests. I have State Representative Virgil Osborne out of Douglas County, and I also have Rep. Anna Scharf. And so a little bit about these two. These two have been instrumental in helping me navigate this process and learn this process. And they've been, really good, contacts for me, also allies here. And so the goal for this today is to kind of answer kind of questions you might have and understand the process legislatively a little bit better. And this is kind of our first listen and learn. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Virgil first, and he can kind of explain who he is and his district, and then we'll just go around, do a little round table. And so if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat and I'll highlight them and we'll go from there. And so you guys ready for this?
Sure.
We're ready.
Okay, let's do it. So we're going to start off with Virgil. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, Derek. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this movement that we're starting here. This is pretty awesome. Just to give everybody a little introduction, this is my first term as a legislator. I was elected in House District 2, which is Douglas County. I'm a Roseburg resident, a pretty avid gun owner, and been an avid gun owner since I was about 12 years old. So I have a real problem with these bills, and it was very nice when Derek showed up at my office one day and we had a nice chat about what we could do moving forward and started forming a strategy. Of course, Anna was involved in that too, and I think the strategy is forming itself as we go, and I look forward to being part of the tip of the spear on this thing. So thank you, guys.
Hey, everybody. I'm State Representative Anna Scharf from House District 23. That's Polk County and Yamhill County, so pretty much from Dallas all the way up to Newburgh. I was appointed in July of 2021 to fill the seat in House District 23 when Representative Newman was removed from office. I was actually working for Newman at the time. I'd spent 2 years working for him. I'd also, prior to that, spent a lot of time as an unpaid advocate. Pretty much what you all are doing in the building when you show up, lobbying for your own efforts, lobbying for your own interests without getting paid for it. So I did that for about 10 years. My original career, I'm not going to tell you when I graduated college, but my original career right out of college, I was a paid lobbyist for one session. So I won my seat outright in this last election. And I'm super happy to be a part of this. I met Derek because my husband kept saying, you got to meet this guy. You got to meet this guy. You just got to go talk to him. And so I was grateful when he showed up in the building. And I look forward to talking to you guys tonight and letting you know where we're going and also how we're going to get this, hopefully get rid of this thing.
Yeah, so that's the goal. It's kind of, what does this look like? Where are we at today? Where are we going at next month? We should be looking 30 days, also 60 days. Like, how are we going to get out of this session? And this is a long session, so this is definitely something that is troubling for all of us. And so, that's kind of where I'm going here today. Is so let's talk about there's a topic that's been really contested. It's quorum. So could you explain exactly what quorum is and how those rules impact what's happening in the House of Representatives?
Anna, you want to tackle that one, or you want me to start?
Why don't you jump in and I'll just fill in the blanks if you want.
Sure. Well, just okay, to give everybody a little history. Well, I won't call it history, but the way the House works. So there's 60 members of the House of Representatives, and right now there's currently 35 Democrats and 25 Republicans. And to reach quorum, you have to have a total of 40 to be able to do anything. So business only happens when you hit that magic number of 40. So obviously there's going to have to be at least 5 Republicans that would show up for a bill like this to make quorum so that they can actually move forward on the bill. We, in 2021 or 2020, whenever 113 passed, denying quorum used to be a tactic we could use to walk out on a bill. When 113 passed, the problem with that was it eliminated we could still walk out. We could walk out tomorrow if we wanted to. But the problem is, once we've missed 10 consecutive, 10 floor sessions unexcused, then we're ineligible to run in the following election. So The problem with that is right now we have 35 Democrats, 25 Republicans. Some of the Republicans only won their seats by just slim margins. So the problem with walking out, if we did walk out, the odds are it would stop the bill temporarily. It wouldn't stop it permanently because they could just bring it back up again. It's not going to fix anything, but it would eliminate all of us. And so the odds are you're probably going to get 20 Republicans back, and then they're going to have a quorum. Once they can quorum without us, they can pass anything they want. It doesn't have to be a particular number of Republicans there. It just has to be 40 representatives out of 60. So I'm going to pass that off to Anna. I'm sure she's got more to add to that.
So prior to the last session, for last election, so prior to 2022, November 2022, we were at 23 Republicans and 37 Democrats in the House. The reason it was so important to get to 25 is once we get to 25, they need us to pass tax measures. So the good part about this session is we got to 25. They can't pass any new taxes on to you. They can raise fees and they can increase existing taxes, but they can't pass any new tax without us because we are 25. 25 was a good number for us to get to. As Virgil said, though, there are some of our seats that are hanging on by a thread. And so we do run the risk. Measure 114, which passed in the same session, the same election cycle, was an initiative petition, and it was passed on the same ballot that Virgil and I were both on in our respective areas. The voters overwhelmingly said, we don't want you walking out. Now, no offense to anybody on this call, but I think that there were a lot of dumb voters in the last session who didn't know what they were voting for. And if you look at all the ballot measures that were on there, besides the pen measure, 111, 112, and 113 were horrible and they were stupid and people shouldn't have voted for them. So the situation we have in the Senate is very similar. The Senate right now is, I call it 17-13. There are two independents in that mix, but they tend to caucus and go along with the Republicans. Senator Boquist, my senator, was elected a Republican, even though he's an independent now. So in the Senate, they need 20. So what you're seeing right now going on in the Senate, where there's only 18 and have only been 18 for the last 3 days, I'm looking at my chart over here, they have not been able to reach quorum as well. The clock is ticking on the Senate, though. They have the same rules that we have when it comes to Measure 114, Measure 113, and our 10-day rule.
Okay.
And my understanding as of Saturday, President Wagner revoked all of the excused absences in the Senate. So, and they went to floor session every day.
They did.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically what they're trying to do is to use that Measure 113 to force our hand and either get us to show up or again to get us kicked out. Is that a fair statement?
That's what they're trying to do, and again, the Senate has tried to keep this as quiet as they can. So I don't know what their ultimate plan is over there. I know they've stopped the bills right now. Now they stopped the bills at first reading. So, and I should probably preface this by when the bills come to the floor, they go first reading, second reading, third reading. On third reading, we vote. So one of the things that we came up with to help slow this thing down was I think it's called the Flesch readability test, Flesch being the guy's last name. And that just basically says every bill written doesn't matter what it's about, but every bill written has to be essentially understood at the 8th grade level. You should be able to read that bill and understand it. Well, if you've read 2005 and if you've read 2002, the abortion bill, it takes practically a Harvard-educated lawyer to understand what they say. So that was so we didn't catch that until our third reading. So in the House, the Speaker of the House ruled, and also Council ruled that we did have a valid point, but it should have been caught in first or second reading. Well, the Senate as soon as they went through the House and got to the Senate, they caught it on the first reading. So at this point, they have a valid argument against even reading those bills, and they need to go right back to committee. They need to be rewritten so that the public can understand them. But the president of the Senate is not a guy that's probably he's going to fight that. So there's a legal case here. We just haven't, it hasn't evolved yet.
Okay. So I had a question from the chat. So how is the Senate president have the power to revoke an excused absence?
Excellent question. And I think that is where you're going to see the challenge come from. The language in Measure 113 says that 10 absences would be deemed disorderly behavior. It applies to both chambers. So in the past, practice has been within 48 hours of your absence, you turn in an absent form, in our case, to the chief clerk in the House. You don't have to say why. You can just say family reasons, doctor, whatever it is. You don't have to go into detail. And it was approved. We're all adults. What Senator Wagner pulled the other day, though, is Senator Wagner revoked a excused absence for recently elected Senator Cedric Hayden, former House member Senator Hayden, Representative Hayden. And Senator Hayden has always been excused on Saturdays, except for very critical times when we were getting close to sine die, which is the end of session. And he was excused for religious purposes. And so I think they've got themselves in a pickle, at least with that one and anybody else who was saying, no, I don't work on a Sunday or a Saturday for my religious reasons. And so I think Senator Wagner made a huge mistake, particularly with Senator Hayden. But the other ones, I don't know what their excused absences are. There's a whole handful of the only ones with a doctor's note, if you will, are Gerard and who else has one?
Gorsuch, right?
Gorsuch. And Gorsuch's been out for quite a while. He's a Democrat. And Gorsuch's been out for quite a while because of some medical issues. So it's going to be an interesting, I believe, legal challenge to Measure 113.
Okay, sounds great.
Which is what we need to happen.
Yep.
Sadly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that being said, so a lot of talk is about the budget, right? And so obviously some of the digging I've been doing is some freedom of information, requests. I'm seeing the fiscal state that we're in, and so how is all of that? Because it seems to me like they're in the budget hearings that I was part of, is they went off the rails and they started talking about, instead of talking about numbers and the services that are being denied or cut because of the lack of funding, they started talking about hope and emotion and feelings. And they kind of took the conversation away from the actual numbers, and they started to go talking about, Lou Fredericks, crying at funerals because of gun crimes and stuff like that. So, what kind of accountability do we have as taxpayers when it comes to this type of stuff? Can we hold them accountable there?
Go ahead, Anna. That's yours.
Votes matter.
Votes matter.
Votes matter. So House Bill 2005 passed with a very, very small fiscal out of the House. What I would consider a minor fiscal, $350,000 and change. They don't care. They'll underfund all kinds of things as long as they get the buzzwords feelings passed that they want. We said the same thing about House Bill 2002 when it came across the House floor. We ranted on that about the fiscal impact of the state budget and what it could potentially do to us as taxpayers. That pot of money is only so big. The best thing that Oregon has going for it is we are required to have a balanced budget. So if they put in a bunch of new programs, or they want to pay for health care for all, which was Measure 111, by the way, they're going to have to come up with that money somewhere. And I don't know where it's coming from because it's not in the current tax base.
Well, they could raise taxes, right?
No.
They at 20.
The numbers game. Okay.
Yeah. Say if we walk out, then like elections have consequences, and so do the actions of the people that are elected. So we're trying our best to navigate this thing politically. And it's not about us keeping our seats. It's about the future of Oregon and what happens if they end up with 40 and we end up with 20. We are in trouble because we have no way to stop. They can pass any bill they want if they have 40.
The other thing, Derek, I want to make sure that folks know that are watching with respect to walking out. We are constitutionally bound to end this legislative session by June 25th at midnight. That is in the Constitution. We don't have any choice. Things that are dead, things that aren't done are dead at midnight on the 25th. if we were to walk out and we were to shut down session, or the governor comes in and says, I'm shutting y'all down because you're behaving badly, the governor can do that. They just turn right around and they call an emergency session.
Right.
And an emergency session has no end date. So that is another risk factor that must be weighed in this chess game that's being played right now.
Right. And that's the part that people don't understand about walking out. For us right now, walking out's not going to change anything. The Senate is playing a little bit of a chess game, and I think the reason for the game is to get to the point of challenging 113. And I see there's a question up there right now that says if 113 is challenged, how does the impact of the senators denying quorum right now? How does it impact the senators? That's a good question. We just don't know until the legal challenge has been made, and I'm sure it'll probably end up in the Oregon Supreme Court. Personally, I think 113 is unconstitutional because, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, if in the Senate's case, there's 140,000 people in a district. If the majority of those people decide that they want to elect a person, as long as that person's not a felon and meets all the criteria of being elected, I don't see how a law can stop the people's decision. So it's going to be, I'm sure it'll be challenged. I wish I could tell you the outcome. I'm hopeful that it is unconstitutional.
Okay. And the other thing is Virgil and I work for our constituents. As much as we love all y'all, at the end of the day, we only work for our district. So if my district knows what I'm doing, they have the ability to recall me and they have the ability to get rid of me. So I don't want the Constitution in that respect.
That leads to my the question that I've had is obviously what I'm trying to do here in the group is engage with the people so they feel that their voice is engaged up there in Salem. And I'm trying to empower the people to do that. So that being said, what's going to be the best way for our people to have their voices be heard? Is it via email? Is it via call? I mean, what's your advice there?
So I'll start with that. At this point, the testimony on 2005 is gone, right? I mean, it's from the House side. There's nothing we can do to bring it back at this point. Emails matter. Chain emails don't matter. If it's the same email and I get the same email 350 times, I'm not going to read that email. But if it's individually, it does make a difference. Phone calls, it's not a popular thing up there. Our phones blow up every day anyway. So I don't know that phones are really the way to go. To me, a couple of things stand out. One is, and I'll go back to when Timber Unity put together the protest on the cap and trade bill. We had, I wasn't there then, but I don't know how many log trucks there were. There were literally hundreds. And they made a big deal and they made a big, bold statement. The sad part about when 2005 was going through the House, we didn't see that kind of participation from the public, which when the newspapers aren't reporting about 2005, that means people weren't standing out there complaining about it. And so participation in that form is good, but better yet, and Derek and I have talked about this, we need to be very strategic for the 2024 election. So we need to go after those representatives that are weak, the Democrats that are weak, that are going to vote for 2005. We need to go after them in their election. We need to primary them. We need them to know that not only 2005 was a bad decision on their part, but so was 2002. Because if we can flip the House, we can change things. We can run bills. If we have 31, we can run bills too. We can undo some of the nonsense, but we got to get there first. Go ahead, Anna.
I think the other thing that I would add to that is if you live in a district and your state representative or your senator is a Democrat, it is your right to send letters to the editor for the local newspaper about how you can't stand how they're not representing you, and 10 letters to the editor, short and sweet about the issue, sharing clips of them on your social media with all your friends that live in that district. That makes an impact. Democrats don't like to lose. We don't like to lose either, but they've gotten very complacent. And there are several in the Senate and lots in the House. Remember, in the House, everybody's got to run again in 2024. A year from now, Virgil and I will be getting ready for our primary. 9 months from now, Virgil and I will be, or sooner, declaring if we're going to run again. I mean, this continues to happen. In the Senate, you run every 4 years, and in the Senate, we've got quite a few Republicans who aren't coming back for various reasons. And we've got to hold those seats in addition to protecting the ones that may be in trouble because of this walkout. But then there's a handful of Democrats that, I'm looking at Senator Gorsuch, who's been out for quite some time with health issues, and he's Wood Village, Gresham, and West Troutdale. I'd like to think that there's some people out there that are Second Amendment supporters. Get rid of them.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to identify people that we can target, because we don't need a lot. Like, we just need to hold this line and then expand a little bit. Like I feel that we're close. Like, we could get 5 or 6, and we're going to be in a position to actually take back things and take ground back, and that's kind of the goal. And so that's kind of where we at, is I'm trying to figure out a way to weaponize this group in a way that it's going to help us in the end game, because I don't think, and this is my perspective, the Republican Party, they're not engaged with younger voters, because they don't know how to use technology and all these other things that we are already doing right now currently in this group. And so I'm trying to put us in a position as this group, as an organization, that can actually make changes in Salem. And I feel that we're close. That's why it's great to have people like you that come in here and they can talk about the system, because we need to know how the sausage gets worked. I hear all the time how, oh, my vote doesn't matter. I didn't vote. I burned my ballot. We had 180,000 Republicans sit home this election cycle, which gave us measure 114. It probably wouldn't have mattered with measure 113, because it was 70% to 30, but also it could have made a difference in the governor's race. And so we have to quit being complacent. We have to get involved. We have to get energized. I feel like there's hope here, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's why we're glad to have people like you that can kind of guide us and let us know, what it looks like up there. Obviously from my limited time being in the building, it's a very, very, toxic, it's very partisan. There's us versus them, when it really defeats the whole purpose of, you're there on all of our behalfs, besides your district, you're representing your district. But, how do we get reasonable people that might be on the other side of the aisle to understand the importance of our vote, our voices as well, I guess.
It's well, first off, there's a lot to say there. So first off, you got to find reasonable people on the other side of the aisle. What I find, and I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't say that, but I did. What I find on the other side of the aisle there are people that are leaders and there are people that are followers, and the majority of the people on the other side of the aisle are followers, and they're going to follow caucus. That's what they do. I just did an analysis for the local Republican Party this weekend. As a matter of fact, I gave a speech on Saturday, and I went through all the votes. We only lost controlling the House by 4,276 votes, and I could be plus or minus a few, but that's about. So you said 180,000 people set out. Imagine this: we lost the House by 4,276 votes. If the half of those Republicans would have voted, we'd have 31 members in the House right now, and 31 controls the House. So that is just something that is, to me, it gives me great encouragement to know that we were so close. I could tell you, I don't have the notes in front of me, but I believe it was Hartman won her race by 181 votes, right? Yep. Out of a district with 70,000 potential voters. There were other races that were won under 1,000 votes. There was one that was a 450, I think. I don't remember, but the thing is, we need strong Republican candidates, and that is number one, because strong candidates just tend to go ahead and win anyway. And we need to just pay attention to those races that we can affect. So if somebody won their district by 90%, don't bother chasing them. Don't bother spending time chasing them. I mean, of course we're going to run somebody, but don't waste a bunch of time on it.
Virgil is what he said. You don't need to worry. You just said ignore me. You don't need to worry about Brett Osborne. He's fine.
Well, I mean, I was only a 70%er, but you know, there are some Republicans that we won by 70%, and I think there were some that ran unopposed, and those are races that. So what happens is when people give us money to our campaigns to run, we take that money and we transfer it to the other campaigns, to the people that we want to make sure save their seats, make sure they win. We spent $2.1 million on 3 races last year to assure those people got in the Republican seats, and some of those they were down by the polls were -4 and higher percent, I think -11%. The Democrats are supposed to win, and we ended up winning by +4, +3. So it's really going to be a game of chess in 24, and we really have to get out to vote. And I know we say this every time we go to vote, but I don't think the stakes have ever been higher. If we don't get this thing slowed down, we are going to lose our gun rights. We've already lost the abortion battle. It's already gone, but it's going to continue to get worse. And people need to understand with this abortion bill, taxpayers pay for the abortions. It's not like people go in and they need an abortion and they pay for it. We pay for it. You can be 12 years old and have an abortion, and we're going to pay for it out of taxes. So, I mean, there's just so much bad going on right now. We got to stop it. We just have to stop it.
And so this is what I really want to focus is apathy, right? Complacency has put us in this position, right? And the one thing that I've done, and I've said from the beginning of me doing these videos about a year ago now, is there's no such thing as the perfect candidate. There's only such thing as the one that can win. And so much of the time, if our candidate doesn't get there, we just take our ball and sit home, and really that's what put us in this position right here is we didn't get this perfect candidate that we wanted, that had all these checks next to their name that we liked. And so we didn't participate, and that's what really cost all of us. And so what I really want to stress here is there's a lot of great folks that are leaving the state right now. And I have good friends that have left the state, and I miss them and I support that decision. But the thing is this is our stand. And so we have to change the direction by making sure that we're a part of this process. And we're doing it right now. So we're writing testimony. We're submitting testimony. We're showing up for testimony. This is stuff that they're not used to up there. I mean, typically they're used to the red shirt showing up, but for Oregon gun owners, we're changing this tactic. We're getting smarter. And this is a big shout out to the people here in the group, is you guys are engaged. And so how do we turn this, this momentum that we're starting to build, how do we turn this into, saving our state? I guess that would be my question.
And Derek, I think you said something really, really important there. Is they're used to seeing the little white-haired ladies in their red shirts. What they saw when you all showed up the other day in the gallery was not the militia that they make us out to be. So the other side loves to say that we are just a bunch of open carry, militia, kill everybody kind of people. And as I said in one of my floor speech, I actually only gave one floor. We only each gave one floor speech on that bill. But we're your neighbors, we're your bus drivers, we're the people you sit to at church next to, that have a concealed handgun, that are there to protect you when things go sideways. We saw, I haven't heard too much about the latest shooting that just happened at that mall. I think it was in Texas. But hours and hours later, they had somebody run down the amount of people on the street corner on a highway, 9 people with the vehicle, but you don't see anybody screaming that we should get rid of cars. We just need to make them all electric. So apparently those don't run over people.
Self-driving.
You and your group did a phenomenal job when you came in, because you're changing the narrative. And I think you're never going to win. Virgil touched on this. We're not going to win the other people on the other side of the aisle in that building. They are 100% sheep. If you look at the way that our Republican caucus votes, there are lots of measures we are not locked in on. We vote for what's best for our districts, and we vote for what we believe in and what our knowledge base is. They have been, they vote how they are told. You're never going to sway them. The only thing you can do is get rid of them.
Okay.
True. Very true.
Yeah, and that's that's what we're trying to do. We got to figure out. Obviously, we want to identify good candidates that can run, and vetting them and getting them involved with the process, and that's kind of the goal here is we have to seize on this opportunity. And the fact, coming out of COVID, we had record lockdowns. It affected our kids. Like, we had all the momentum there to make tremendous strides, and we got some, but we didn't get enough. And so that's kind of where I'm at here is just figuring out a way that we can all get on the same page and making sure that we're fighting in the same direction. My perspective here is we got to fight forward, and that's I look at the long game. I'm looking a year, I'm looking at 2 year, but I'm also looking 4, 6, a generational. Like, what's that look like for us as Oregonians? Like, if we don't hold the line here, how much time do we have until there's nothing left for us here in Oregon? I guess would be my question.
I'd say about 5 years, 6 years, maybe. It's there's so much more legislation coming down the pipe that people haven't even heard of yet, and we're seeing some of these things. And then, particularly, an animated comment about electric cars that's coming, and it's going to affect all of our lives. So I don't know. We definitely have to fight. That's how Democrats win. They fight together, and that's how Republicans don't win. The cool thing about Republicans is we're all very independent, and we all have, people don't tell us what to do. Try to tell me how to vote, right? Or Anna or anybody else. That's the cool part about our party and our folks. But sadly, of course, in the caucus, we are together. When a vote comes up on something important like 2005, 2002, we're gonna stick together. But the Democrats, they stick together on ridiculous bills that shouldn't even pass, but yet there they are, and here we are. So we need to learn a lesson out of their war strategy book, and then we need to put our strategy together and just go like heck.
Okay, so that being said, so what are some goals that we could all come together on? Like, do you guys have any ideas on something looking into the future? What is something that we could use to unify us as Oregon gun owners to take ground back from the other side? Is there any issues that you would love to see more support from? The
number one thing I think we can do at this point, and of course we have to see how this thing dances through the Senate, and if it even actually gets out of the Senate, I don't know. But the number one thing we need to do is make an example out of how bad this is, and how we can do that is with the lawsuit. And I know all of the Republican caucus, all of us are putting in our own money on this lawsuit that we're planning on. And then we need to bond together. And what we need to do is we need to form as a group. And I think Derek's done a good job of getting this momentum started, but not as a group of crazy people that are going to go storm the House. You guys don't need to worry about storming the House. I'm already there, right? So I know all about that. But we need to take a professional, the very well strategically formed, with good decorum, battle back to them. And numbers talk. When you get a weak Democrat and all of a sudden, he just barely won his race, and now. And I'll go even farther. We need to get good candidates. And if you have somebody in your district that you think would make a good candidate, and I've seen a few names pop up already, have them come and talk to us. We'll talk as a caucus or talk to our leader, Vicky. And, we will support that. And if there's a chance of winning, heck yeah, we're going to move forward. It's all just a numbers game from here on out. I truly believe the Democrat strategy is a lot like a parasite. I think that a parasite eats the host till the host dies, and then they don't have anything left to go. So they got to go find some other way to do it, right? So the host is almost dead right now. And if I truly believe the abortion bill and the gun bill to a degree as well has pushed that host to almost where it's useless. So here we go. This is our chance, but we're starting early. We've got 18 months or so before the election, and we just don't want to lose that momentum. So, I could preach all night, but that's my thoughts on that.
The other thing you can do now, between now and when we know what the table looks like for those that are going to be running for Senate seats, is be watching. We got rid of the Secretary of State because she behaved badly, but we didn't get rid of her because she behaved badly. We got rid of her because she got caught. She'd been behaving badly. So You know, if you live in Senator Lieber's district, or if you live in Frederick's district and you see a black kid at a funeral, Senator Frederick isn't there, but I heard he went to every little black kid's funeral that got shot, whatever it is. Keep track of those candidates that are on the other side of the aisle from us and the way they behave badly. Representative Paul Evans, House District 20, the carrier of the bill on the floor, should have been gone 2 cycles ago, but 3 cycles ago. But he's a parasite that Rep. Osborne's talking about. If you live in Monmouth, Independence, West Salem, and you see him, follow him. See what he does. Keep track of how badly he behaves. We all laugh on the floor now when he throws down his markers. He threw 3 down on one bill the other day. It's those things that we bring back during campaign season, because between now and next May and next November, a year and months from now, people are going to forget. They're going to forget. We've got to keep reminding them about how much pain the Democrat Party caused us in this 2-year cycle.
Absolutely. And you know, a constant reminder is the pocketbook, right? So we all have higher gas prices, our food prices are up, everything, the cost of everything, cost of living has gone up. And so this is all stuff that, you know, we have to turn this into action. Like today is an educational standpoint perspective type meeting, but we have to turn this education into action. And a lot of what I do is I understand how my opposition thinks. And part of that is I understand the rules for radicals. And that's something that I recommend. If you guys are not familiar with the rules for radicals, it's written by Saul Alinsky. Obviously, President Obama was the one that really made it famous, but this is their blueprint. And so if I know where they're going to go with this conversation, I can either be in front of it or I can use their tactics against them. And so that's what I mean when I'm talking fighting forward. I'm going to fight the Democratic Party the way they're going to fight me. And so a lot of times we have the good old boys here in the Republican Party. I'm not saying you guys are part of that, but they want to play nice. They want to think that we can negotiate and we can do all this stuff. They're not really that bad. All this stuff. It's almost like I'm 2A but, right? I'm pro Second Amendment, but, you know, and so, you know, that's the biggest thing is we have to fight them. And so when we're seeing that, you know, Tina Kotek, there's enough evidence there to say that she took money from Mota as well. And she said that she would give it to a food pantry. My question is, why isn't that money be given to the state of Oregon for the past taxes that are owed? Because there was what, $500,000 there owed by Mota?
Yep.
Why aren't we calling that in?
And don't forget there's $500,000 that was given to the Oregon Democratic Party that came out of the Bitcoin campaign. The Oregon Democratic Party, state Democrats, are refusing to give back to the Bitcoin. The deeds at a state level, that's all they have. That's why they're not giving it back. They're out of money. And I hate the fact that politics is a money game, but it is a money game. And I do believe there are some other people with their fingers caught in that Mota whatever pot problem. So if you want to run for office, keep your notes clean.
I'd be pretty sure there's some folks right now that are sweating bullets to hope their name doesn't come up.
It makes the Patrick Van Winkle thing look pretty tame.
Well, and so part of, you know, what I've been doing is, you know, filing freedom of information requests, right? So this is all public record. We deserve, as taxpayers, you know, we deserve to know where that money's coming from, how it's being spent. And so this is where we have to get more savvy as gun owners and activists, right? So part of my hat, like half of my hat is advocacy. The other half is activism. And that's where I have to fight my enemy the way they're going to fight me. So that's where we have to get smarter and use the technology to our advantage. And so, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. And propaganda, like we already know that the media is going to control the narrative for the Democrats. They're going to be pushing, you know, gun bills and stuff like that. So we have to be aware. The only way that we can counter this narrative is by showing up. And what we've done the last couple times is we're there, and we get little blurbs in the paper, which is great. It's how we turn those little blurbs into big stories, and that's how we truly change. Is we get so many people in these rooms that they can't deny the fact that we're there. And we do it peacefully and respectfully and professionally. So,
Derek, with your money. If any of your listeners, viewers, and members are members of a union, unions do really good things and have historically. But if you're part of SEIU or you are part of the Federated Teachers Union, ask me, take your union money out. Don't pay your dues. Tell them you want it back. Legally, you're required to get your union dues back, and they still have to represent you in collective bargaining. Your union dues are funding the Democrat Party. They don't give any money to Virgil and me. I know that.
So I see this quite often. This question right here is there anything that can be done to hold our elected officials accountable for violating their oath of office? Is that something I hear this all the time. Is it have any kind of weight?
Well, the first thing, the accusation comes with, you have to be able to prove it, right? So, I mean, that's why we do lawsuits, right? So we can prove that, bills are not constitutional and they get stopped. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to prove it. And sometimes proving it is very difficult. I think 2005 has merits that'll be easily proven to be unconstitutional. Now, whether or not, I mean, of course, as lawmakers, our job is to pass bills. And so in the accountability part of it, I mean, as far as can they be taken out of office for passing a bill that was put in front of them, I don't think that's probably true. I don't think that's the case. But the way you hold people accountable is you challenge the decision. And there's three ways to challenge a decision. You challenge it in the House, you challenge it in the Senate, and you challenge it at the governor's level. And if all three of those fail, you take them to court. Or any one of those failed to the point where you don't like it, you don't like the results, you take them to court. And that's, unfortunately, that's what we're going to do here. A lot of 2005 has already been challenged in federal court and in other states as well, and been deemed unconstitutional. So I get the question. I mean, to me, it's like, well, obviously those lawmakers are not following the Constitution. They should be taken out. But that's not really how our system works. And you know what? It might change if there were 31 of us in the House. We might make some laws that would take them out. But we can't get there from here. We have to get to the majority. The majority party's job is to govern, and the minorities party's job is to get to govern. So we have to take them out of their game so we can actually run this state. So anyway, again, I don't want to preach, but that's where we are.
Okay. No, and that all makes sense. So I guess going forward, what are some of the goals that you have for your districts? And what can the people of your districts kind of look forward to when it comes to how you guys are, governing?
Go ahead, Virgil.
I kind of lost a little bit there, but I think what he said was, what are the goals that I have for my district? So, and I think Anna's probably maybe not quite as rural a district as I am. Maybe you are. I don't know for your district, but my district's very rural. And my goals in my district is to hold the line to the best of my ability, to hold the line for the businesses and the people that live there. Now, the gun rights are obviously high on the agenda. Abortion is those are two hot topic bills right now. But what's coming right now down the line is, DEQ is talking about raising the rates for Title V to 80% of rate changes. That affects mills in our district like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it would increase the fees to the point where it's going to cost employees. So I'm fighting those challenges. I'm fighting this habitat conservation plan is going to hurt all of the districts because we rely on timber dollars to fund some of our counties. And habitat conservation is going to take away a lot of that stuff. So that's on my agenda. Wildfire bills are high on my agenda because we have such a wildfire issue in my rural county. Being in Douglas County, that's a very important topic for me. But probably number one that always comes up is the homeless issue. So we really, as Republicans, I think we can battle this issue, and we've done some good things. But we have to take on the challenge of why we have the issue, and the reason we have the issue is because we have laws that make drugs not against the law. We let people do it. We don't hold people accountable. We give participation trophies out. There's all kinds of feel good things we can do here. But at the end of the day, if we don't stop, we didn't have a homeless problem before we passed 110, which basically stopped the police from doing their job. And we need to repeal some of the 110 problems, and we've tried, and we'll keep trying. And every time we fail, because the Democrats voted it down, that becomes their issue that we're going to bring up in their campaigns, and we're going to remind them that, hey, we had an opportunity here to fix the problem you guys created, but you didn't let us do that. So there's some of the things. I mean, I have, my list is long. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure Anna will add on, and we'll probably be repeating some of the same things.
So for House District 23, we're primarily agricultural based. We're a bedroom community, if you will, to Salem. Newburgh is becoming a bedroom community to Portland. So my focus really for our district is infrastructure and how we preserve, how we find, and how we stop any bills that will inhibit us from being able to financially improve our infrastructure, whether that's bringing down federal dollars to do that or just regulations in general that say you can't do this and you can't do that. With respect to homelessness and housing, there are a lot of housing bills right now, housing regulation bills that are coming through the rules committee that I sit on. They're trying to place houses every single nook and cranny in the state that they can place them, but they're not willing to roll back any of the building requirements or building specs. My dad was a contractor growing up. I remember duplexes with T111 siding and really thin insulation in them. But you know what? People had a roof over their head. And as I drive through my hometown, a bunch of those are still standing. So I'm really looking more at land use and zoning and infrastructure regulation. We're blessed. We don't have the wildfire issues in Polk and Yamhill County that Virgil has to deal with. And the spotted owl killed almost every single one of our mills. So don't have that to hang on to anymore. The other thing I would say that I'm very cognizant of is how do we protect our local races? How do we protect local control? How do we make sure that our school boards, our city councils, our county commissioners maintain as much local control as they can and also be able to fight off the unfunded mandates? You know, House Bill 2005 is an unfunded mandate to our counties. And they don't want to talk about that. And the fiscal doesn't cover that unfunded mandate. And I know my county commissioners and my sheriff are like, how the hell are we going to handle this? So, you know, I have a little bit different twist and focus on things, but that's why I love working with Virgil and my other colleagues, because we all think about different things, but at the end of the day, we come together to make what's best for all of us happen when they let us.
Absolutely. And so I've been following the numbers very closely, right? And that's, you brought up 2005. It's like on the fiscal impact, they said it was only going to cost the state of Oregon, you know, $369,000, I believe, and you know, only counted for 2 full-time positions in Oregon State Police. But they're not talking about the local prosecutor level. They're not talking about the local jail, the probation offices, you know, beat cops on the road, all the impact of that by potentially going after, you know, law-abiding gun owners, you know. So that's the real issue. And I guess so my perspective is, how do we raise the alarm? Like, how do we get them to listen? Because obviously they don't want to listen, because they want to just to ram this thing through, even though they already know it's going to be challenged. They've already admitted that they're going to be sued. And so that's why they broke off with Senate Bill 393, which is just the 3-day wait. You know, so that's the one they're going to settle with. They're going to go for the House, but they're going to get this little bathroom out of the whole deal. So what do we do? How do we sound this alarm?
Yeah. You know, I honestly, Derek, they don't care about the money, because the only thing that the state legislature cares about, and the only thing they really are supposed to care about, is balancing the state budget for the state agencies. So if there's no fiscal to a state agency, but there's a downstream effect to a county or a city, private citizens don't matter. So just toss that baby out with the bathwater. But if there's a financial impact to counties and cities, if the counties and cities didn't come forward and scream and shout for additional fiscal to be put on this, then you know we're kind of hosed. It's like, the last time we had the big huge lockout in 2020 that was over cap and trade. The governor just did an executive order, executive order 2004, which put cap and trade into action. A little bit harder to do that with gun measures, but when it comes to stuff that costs you money, that's not a part of the equation.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I think heck. Sorry, I'll go. I think they add on to we're going to have to be very strategic in this. This is doable. I mean, you think about Glenn Youngkin in his governor race, right? And he found a reason why it's a better way to be a Republican, and guess what? People followed him. Our school, and I don't know that our school system is going to get us there, but there's got to be a better way. And fighting without a reason or fighting without a solution is just like making noise, right? So we need to come up with a strategic plan, and I think Derek's onto that. And I think with our help and a few others involved in it, we'll find that strategic message that we need to do. And then we need to sell it. And we need to sell it to the public. We need to sell it to the Democrats as well, because there's a lot of Democrats in Oregon that shoot guns. I mean, there's a lot of Democrats that own guns. In fact, the three Democrats that were supposedly on the workforce, that their work team that put this ridiculous bill together, all claim to be gun owners, which I kind of called them out on the floor. But that's I have no tolerance for that kind of crap. But anyway, we just need to be strategic, and we need a leader. And I can tell you, your House Republicans, myself and Anna included, we're going to do everything we can to be leaders on this. But got to understand, we have a whole bunch of other stuff on our plate too. What we need is a champion that we can get behind and say and support and throw money at the situation, and be, and that champion might be 20 champions, in different areas. But strategy, that's what it is. This is a war. Not a physical war. We're not going to go. Hopefully, we'll never go to a shooting solution. That's not the plan. But this is a war of words, and this is a war of strategy to beat the opponent, and that's what we have to look at it.
And the way we lose that is by people pointing the finger at the Republicans all the time instead of pointing the finger at the Democrats.
Absolutely. And since from day one, my thing is, this is not a left versus right issue. When we're talking about the 2A, right, we have common ground, and that is our Second Amendment right. So it crosses, left, right, blue, purple, green, gay, straight, everything comes down to a 2A. So on that, in that regard, we can all be single issue voters, right? So there's one things that we're going to like, and the other person might not like, but when you talk about common ground is the 2A. And so, there's a great question, what are the chances of an assault weapons ban like what just happened in Washington? What are the odds of that coming in here in Oregon?
I can tell you that was on the list of things to be added to 2005, and they pulled it out so they could sell the bill easier. So yes, it's coming. And that's another thing that, when people say, "Oh, we all should have walked out." Well, guess what's going to happen when they'll just go ahead and pass stuff when we're gone, or when we come back, they'll call another session, and it'll be stinkier than this one. So get ready for more legislation coming in our next, long session. Hey, it could happen in a short session.
I'm trying to think of a session where we didn't have contentious gun-related bills. I mean, 2021 was Senate Bill 554, which started us down this whole path of going after law-abiding concealed carry folks.
2019 was 801 or 901, excuse me.
Yeah, 2014 we had a whole bunch of police reform bills brought by Representative Bynum, trying to disarm the police and legalize criminality. So they're never going to be done trying to push their gun bill agendas, no matter what it is, until they take your guns. And Virgil keeps saying 31's great. I have seen that building function at a 30-30. 30-30 kills the bill, gang. 15-15 kills a bill, gang. You don't have to have that 31. You just need to get to the 30 or the 15. And that's why I say the Senate's a hell of a lot closer to making that happen. I mean, I think the House is too, but there's 5 Democrats and we just need to pick off 2. And in the House, there's five Democrats that we need to pick off. And I could name those 5 very easily. If Osborne's already named them, but and I know that Derek has paid some visits to one of them, which sucks because he's been with us on some other issues. But 30 and 15, or even 1 chamber. We're not doing some fences. Get on first base.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
more importantly, to add to that, if we have control, we also get control of the committees. We become the chair people in the committees, not just the co-chairs. So a chair in a committee doesn't have to they don't have to have a hearing on a bill. They can kill it. And that's what they do to ours.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And so we're so close. And that's why I want to give people hope here is we can do this if we start moving in the right direction. And so it might not be popular for people that don't want to give up that kind of control because they've had control for the last 30 years. But my question was, what have you done to give us a victory here in Oregon? And so that's kind of my thought process is trying new tactics, get new, fresh leadership in positions where we need that so we can set ourselves up for the future. And so I'm not sure what that looks like going forward, but I feel like that's something in my gut that it needs to happen. And I feel that, we're probably in a better position here than most places when we're talking about organization and where we're going. We're almost up on an hour. Is there anything you guys want to kind of finish off with before we close out?
100%. Virgil, I'm going to jump in on this one if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So when 2005, that what I call Black Tuesday happened and Bill moved off of our floor to the Senate, y'all saw a picture that Derek put up that we took with all the House Republicans out on the patio with our check pledging $25,000 to start this lawsuit battle. We now have a 501c3. We have a bank account. We have a address and a name for you to help with that. I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to make sure that Derek has it so that he can get it up for everybody. But it's called Common Sense for Oregon Foundation. 100% tax deductible donations. Like I said, it's called Defense of Self and Family is the PAC, and that's going, or the 501c3, and that's going to Common Sense for Oregon. So Common Sense for Oregon is run by Representative Mannix. Representative Mannix is the godfather of Measure 11. Now the Democrats have tried to unwind over time, but Representative Mannix very quickly stood up this 501c3 for us, got the bank account settled. It's all legal. So it's called Defense of Self and Family. And 2007 State Street in Salem. That's 2007 State Street in Salem, 97301. Again, checks have been made to Defense of Self and Family. At this point in time, we're just going to take checks because we don't know what's going to happen with House Bill 2005. And the point of this funding and the point of $25,000 that we all pledged already is for the lawsuit only. There's no administrative overcosts. Representative Mannix's team is managing the financial aspect for us for free. It will solely be to fight the law fund. No political contributions to candidates, nothing like that. So as we walk down that path, if for some reason 2005 dies, the senators don't come back, they call the session, some miracle happens and Kochek doesn't call a special session just for 2005, we'll need to figure out what to do with those funds and how to return them to folks or redirect them with their permission. So that's why we're being very specific about how to give the money and what it is for. But again, 100% of the money goes to file and fight this lawsuit if and when we absolutely have to do it. No lawsuit can be filed yet because it hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah. Thanks, Anna. And of course, I echo everything she said. We're fighting with you guys together, and I just want to thank you guys for letting me be part of this. And I mean, I feel good. I feel like we have the wind at our back right now, and some momentum with some people behind us. And honestly, I don't know that I felt that way, just a few months ago. So this is a good thing, and I'll be here for you guys. Feel free to contact me, emails, what have you. If there's anything I can do to help, or if maybe explain a question or explain a process, I'll do my best to help everybody with that as well. And I look forward to the heck of a fight.
Awesome. So one last question: is there anything preemptively that we can do in the meantime?
I'd say we're doing it.
We're doing it. Okay. Perfect. So we're coming up on an hour, and so I wanted to obviously thank the representatives for taking the time out of their Sunday to kind of meet with us, and thanks for the transparency, the clarification on things, so we know kind of how the sausage is made up there in Salem. I know I really appreciate it. I appreciate getting to know both of you, and I look forward to figuring out how we can kind of go forward and get everybody involved to make a change here in Oregon. So, thanks to everybody that tuned in. Thanks for the good questions. And, I'm going to get off here, and we'll see you guys again. So have a great Sunday. Thank you guys.
Thank
See you later.